Have you ever felt completely invisible? Like the world would forget you existed if you just stopped showing up? The alarm clock screamed at 5:47 a.m., the same cruel sound that had woken Amelia Ross for the past 3 years. She reached out from under the covers, her hand pale, small, unremarkable, and silenced it with the practiced efficiency of someone who had given up fighting mornings. 24 years old, living in a studio apartment in Portland that smelled like old carpet and the neighbor's cigarette smoke, working as a cashier at Morrison's Market on Southeast Division Street. Beep. Have a nice day. Beep. Thank you. Beep. Smile. Beep. Repeat. That was her life. Amelia stood in front of the bathroom mirror, brushing her teeth with mechanical precision. She had learned long ago not to look herself in the eye. Looking meant seeing. Seeing meant feeling. And feeling meant remembering that she was nobody. Not to her family, not to her co-workers, not even to herself. Her younger brother Logan got the attention, the athletic scholarships, the proud phone calls from their parents to distant relatives. Yes, Logan's team made state finals. Can you believe it? And Amelia? She was the one who never gave us any trouble, which was code for, "We forgot you were there." At school, she had been the girl in the back row. Not bullied, that would have required being noticed. Just overlooked. A face that blurred into the background of yearbook photos. A name teachers had to check twice on attendance sheets. The bus ride to work was the same choreography it had been for years. She sat in the same seat, third row, window side, and watched Portland wake up through rain-streaked glass. Joggers with their expensive headphones, baristas opening cafes, people with purpose. She wondered what that felt like. By the time Amelia pushed through Morrison's employee entrance at 7:53 a.m., she had already perfected her survival strategy. Become smaller, make no noise, take up no space. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like mechanical insects. Her name tag, Amelia, sat crooked on her green vest, and she straightened it without thinking. Not because she wanted to be seen, but because being correct meant being safe. "Morning," muttered Dave, the assistant manager, barely looking up from his clipboard. "Morning," Amelia whispered back, her voice so quiet it barely disturbed the air. But something was different today. There was laughter coming from the break room. Bright, uncontained laughter that didn't belong in Morrison's usual atmosphere of tired sighs and coffee-stained resignation. Amelia peered around the corner. A new girl stood by the coffee machine, surrounded by half the morning shift. She had dark hair pulled into a messy bun, paint-stained sneakers, and the kind of energy that made a room feel smaller and bigger at the same time. "And I swear, the guy thought organic meant it came from Oregon," she was saying, hands animated, and everyone laughed. Dave appeared beside Amelia. "That's Harper Kim, new hire, started yesterday, transferred from the Northwest store." Amelia felt something cold settle in her chest. Another person, another personality, another reason for her to shrink further into the background. "You'll be training her on Register 3, Dave added, already walking away. Of course, Harper Kim was a hurricane in human form. "Hi! Oh my God, you must be Amelia! Dave said you're like the best cashier here and super reliable, and I'm so sorry I talk a lot when I'm nervous, but I'm really excited to learn from you." The words came out in a breathless rush, and Harper extended her hand with a smile so genuine it felt almost aggressive. Amelia shook it weakly. It's not complicated. You'll be fine. I love your name, Amelia. It's so classic, like Amelia Earhart, right? Pioneer vibes. Nobody had ever compared Amelia to a pioneer before. The training went smoothly. mechanically. Amelia explained the register codes, the return policy, the way to handle difficult customers. Smile, apologize, call Dave. Harper listened with an intensity that made Amelia uncomfortable, like she was being seen under a microscope. At lunch, Harper plopped down at the break room table where Amelia always sat alone. "Mind if I join?" Amelia did mind. Her lunch break was her sanctuary. 15 minutes of scrolling through design blogs on her phone, pretending she could be someone who created beautiful things instead of someone who scanned them for $8.47 a bag. "Sure," she heard herself say. Harper unwrapped a homemade sandwich and launched into stories about her art classes at community college, her dream of doing gallery installations, her belief that grocery stores are like weirdly intimate spaces where you witness people's real lives. You know? Amelia didn't know. She nodded at appropriate intervals and felt herself becoming more invisible with every word Harper spoke. It was a familiar feeling. When someone shined this bright, you learned to become their shadow. Over the next week, Harper tried. "Hey, a few of us are getting drinks after work. Want to come?" "I can't. Sorry. There's this cool First Friday art walk downtown. I think you'd love it." "I'm busy. Thanks, though." "Coffee? Just us? I make killer conversation." "Maybe another time." Harper's smile never faltered, but Amelia saw something else in her eyes. Understanding. And that was worse than pity. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. A customer, middle-aged man, expensive watch, entitled posture, threw his receipt at Amelia's face. "Are you stupid? I said no bag. Do you not speak English?" The paper fluttered to the floor between them. Amelia's face burned, her throat closed. The familiar cocktail of shame and rage and helplessness paralyzed her vocal cords. The line behind him shifted uncomfortably. Nobody said anything. I'm sorry, sir. Let me..." "Forget it. Just forget it. Incompetent." He stormed out. The next customer stepped forward with apologetic eyes but said nothing. Neither did the one after that, or the one after that. By the end of her shift, Amelia's hands were shaking. She grabbed her coat and headed for the exit, head down, vision blurred. "Hey!" Harper caught her in the parking lot, slightly out of breath. "That guy was an asshole." Amelia tried to smile. "It's fine. I'm used to it." "You shouldn't be." The words hung in the cold Portland air. Harper stepped closer, her voice softer now. "Can I tell you something? And I need you to actually hear me." Amelia wanted to run, wanted to disappear into her car and drive home, and bury herself under blankets and design software she'd never used professionally. But Harper's eyes held her in place. "You have this way of making people feel seen," Harper said. "When you're at that register, you remember things. You remember that the lady with the twin toddlers likes the organic apple juice. You remember that the elderly man with the cane gets his newspaper and black coffee. You see people, Amelia. I'm just doing my job, and you do it like it matters, like they matter." Harper's smile was sad now. "But you don't think you matter. And that's the most heartbreaking thing I've ever watched." Amelia felt her walls crumbling, brick by careful brick. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" Harper continued. "I see someone who's terrified of taking up space. Someone who's convinced herself that being invisible is safer than being seen. But Amelia..." Harper reached out and gently lifted Amelia's chin so their eyes met. "You exist. And when you show up, really show up, the world notices." I noticed. Something broke open inside Amelia's chest. Something that had been locked for so long she'd forgotten it was there. She cried in Morrison's parking lot, while Harper held her. And for the first time in years, Amelia felt present in her own life. Harper became a constant. Not pushy, not aggressive, just there. A steady presence that refused to let Amelia disappear. They started having lunch together every day. Harper would talk about her art projects, a photography series on Portland's bridges, a sculpture made from found objects, and slowly, carefully, she'd ask Amelia questions. "What do you do for fun?" "I don't really, nothing important." "Try again." Amelia hesitated. Sometimes I design things on my computer. Just logos and posters and stuff. It's stupid." "Show me." "No, they're not." "Amelia." Harper's voice was firm but kind. "Show me." The next day, trembling, Amelia pulled up her secret folder on her phone. Hundreds of designs, mock album covers, fictional restaurant logos, typography experiments that played with negative space and color theory. Harper scrolled in silence, and with each swipe, Amelia felt more naked, more exposed, more terrified. Finally, Harper looked up, eyes wide. "Holy shit! These are incredible. Amelia, these are professional grade. Why aren't you doing this for real?" The question landed like a punch. "Because I'm not. Who would hire me? I don't have a degree or experience or—" "You have talent, you have vision. You have a portfolio right here." Harper leaned forward. "What are you actually afraid of?" The truth came out in a whisper. "That I'll try and still be invisible." Harper nodded slowly. "I get it. But here's the thing. You're already invisible. You chose that. So what's the worst that happens if you choose differently?" That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. Harper's words echoed through her mind, colliding with years of self-protective beliefs. What if I'm enough? What if I'm not? What if trying means failing publicly? What if not trying means failing privately? At 2 a.m., she opened her laptop and started creating something new. Not for her hidden folder, not for practice, for real. The announcement came on Monday morning. Dave gathered everyone in the break room, holding a printed memo. "Corporate's doing a holiday campaign contest. They want fresh ideas for our Christmas marketing. Any employee can submit. Winner gets a $500 bonus, and their design displayed in all 12 Portland area stores." Excited murmurs rippled through the group. "Submissions due Friday. Keep it simple. Poster format, family-friendly, captures the Morrisons' community spirit." Dave shrugged. "Probably someone from marketing will win, but hey, shoot your shot." Amelia's heart hammered. This was a sign. This was the sign. But the old voice was louder. "Don't. You'll embarrass yourself. Just stay small. Stay safe." At lunch, Harper leaned across the table. "You're entering, right?" "I don't think—" "Nope, we're not doing this. You're entering." "Harper, I can't just—" "Give me one good reason why not." Amelia's mouth opened and closed. She had 100 reasons. They all boiled down to the same thing: fear. "That's what I thought," Harper said gently. "Listen. You don't have to win. You don't have to tell anyone. Just submit. Do it for you." That night, Amelia sat at her kitchen table with her laptop, a mug of cold tea, and her entire fragile sense of self. She designed for hours, deleted everything, started over. What makes Morrisons special? Not the prices, not the products, the people, the quiet connections, the cashier who remembers your name, the bagger who asks about your day, the small, invisible moments of humanity. Her design took shape. Soft watercolors, overlapping figures reaching toward each other, hands almost touching. At the center, a simple tagline: "Where you belong." At 11:47 p.m., 3 minutes before the deadline, Amelia's cursor hovered over Submit. Her hand shook, her vision blurred. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to close the laptop and pretend this never happened. But Harper's voice whispered in her memory, "You exist." She clicked. The confirmation email appeared instantly. Submission received. Amelia burst into tears, part terror, part relief, part something she couldn't name. She had shown up. The week crawled by like a wounded animal. Amelia checked her email obsessively, refreshed her phone every 5 minutes, oscillated between hope and self-loathing. Had she really thought she could win? Against people with actual training? Actual experience? Harper noticed, of course. "You submitted, didn't you?" Amelia nodded miserably. "Good. Now breathe. Whatever happens, you did the thing. That's the victory." Friday arrived with gray skies and a company-wide meeting at 4 p.m. Amelia's stomach was a knot of anxiety. She considered calling in sick, but knew that would make it worse. The break room was packed. Dave stood at the front with his laptop connected to the ancient projector. All right. So corporate reviewed all submissions, and wow, we had 12 entries. That's actually impressive. He clicked his mouse. They picked a winner based on originality, brand alignment, and emotional impact. The screen flickered to life. And there it was. Her design. Her watercolors. Her words. "Where you belong." Amelia stopped breathing. "This is gorgeous," said Linda from Produce. "Who made this?" Silence. Dave frowned at his screen. Doesn't say. Anonymous submission. Which is weird because there's a prize." Harper's eyes locked onto Amelia's across the room. There was a question in them. "Are you going to claim this?" Every instinct Amelia had screamed at her to stay quiet, to let the moment pass, to remain invisible. But she thought about Harper's words, about the design, about the girl who had spent 24 years convinced she didn't deserve to exist. And very slowly, Amelia raised her hand. The room turned. I made it." The silence stretched for an eternity. Then Harper started clapping, slow at first, then faster, and suddenly the entire break room erupted in applause. "Amelia!" Dave looked genuinely shocked. "I didn't know you. Wait, this is amazing. Corporate's going to print this for all stores." People crowded around her, asking questions, offering congratulations, seeing her for the first time. Linda hugged her. "Honey, you've been hiding this talent?" Miguel from Receiving grinned. "I always knew you were more than just a cashier." The attention was overwhelming, terrifying, intoxicating. And through it all, Harper stood at the edge of the crowd, smiling that knowing smile and mouthed, "See?" After the meeting, Harper found Amelia in the parking lot, leaning against her car, shaking. "How do you feel?" Amelia laughed, a sound she barely recognized as her own. "Like I'm going to throw up, or fly. I can't tell." "That's called being alive." Harper bumped her shoulder gently. "You know what you just did? You chose yourself. You chose to be visible." "I'm terrified." "Good. That means it matters." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the Portland rain begin to fall. Finally, Harper asked, "What's next?" Amelia pulled out her phone and opened a bookmarked page. Portland Community College, Graphic Design Program. Application deadline, December 15th. "This," she said quietly. I think I'm going to apply." Harper's smile could have lit the entire parking lot. There she is, 3 months later. Amelia stood at Register 3, scanning groceries with practiced efficiency. But something was different now. She made eye contact. She laughed with customers. She wore a small enamel pin on her vest, a tiny paintbrush that Harper had given her. Her design hung in the front window of every Morrison's market in Portland. Whenever she saw it, she felt a small surge of pride mixed with disbelief. The acceptance letter from PCC had arrived 2 weeks ago. She'd start classes in the fall. Graphic design, color theory, digital illustration. Her parents had been surprised. Logan had called it cool. It wasn't the parade she'd once dreamed of, but it was acknowledgement. It was enough. Harper had been promoted to assistant manager at another store, but they texted daily and met for coffee every Sunday. And Amelia had started something new, a small Instagram account for her designs. Nothing huge, 100 followers, mostly friends and co-workers. But they were her followers, people who chose to see what she created. Today, a familiar face appeared in her line. A young girl, maybe 19, with anxious eyes and hunched shoulders. She put her items on the belt without looking up. Amelia recognized something in that posture, a particular kind of invisibility. As she scanned the last item, Amelia said gently, "I like your jacket. That color looks great on you." The girl glanced up, startled. "Oh, thanks. I mean it. You have a good eye for style." The girl's expression shifted, just slightly, a tiny crack in the armor of self-doubt. I make my own clothes sometimes. Just, for fun." Amelia smiled. "That's incredible. Do you have photos? I'd love to see them." "Really? Really?" The girl pulled out her phone with trembling hands, and as Amelia looked through images of beautiful hand-sewn garments, she saw herself 3 months ago. Talented and terrified. Invisible by choice, because visibility felt too dangerous. "These are amazing," Amelia said. "Have you ever thought about selling them? Or showing them at one of the first Friday markets? They're not good enough." Amelia reached across the register and said the words that Harper had once said to her. "You exist. And when you show up, really show up, the world notices." The girl blinked, eyes suddenly wet. "You think?" "I know." As the girl left, clutching her receipt and wearing a small, uncertain smile, Amelia felt something settle into place. This was the cycle. This was the gift. Pain and fear and invisibility. They were part of the story. But so was courage. So was showing up. So was choosing day after day to take up space in a world that would gladly let you disappear. Amelia had learned the hardest lesson. You have to make yourself visible because no one else will do it for you. But she'd also learned something softer. When you do, you give others permission to do the same. That night, Amelia sat at her kitchen table with her laptop. She opened a new design file and began work on a personal project, a series of portraits called The Invisible Ones, people who felt unseen, stories told through color and negative space. Her phone buzzed. Harper. "Hey, invisible girl. How's life treating the visible version?" Amelia. "Weird. Scary. Good. Really good." Harper. "Told you." Amelia. "Thank you for seeing me." Harper. "Thank you for letting yourself be seen. That's the brave part." Amelia set down her phone and looked at her reflection in the dark window. For the first time in her life, she didn't look away. Being invisible is not protection. It's prison. The moment you choose to be seen, imperfectly, authentically, terrifyingly, is the moment you become free. When you show up, life shows up for you. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The world won't knock on your door and beg you to be seen. You have to choose it. Every single day, you have to choose yourself. Amelia's story isn't just about winning a contest. It's about a girl who finally believed she deserved to take up space. And Maybe you need to hear that too. What's one small way you could show up more fully today? Comment, "I'm here," if you're ready to stop hiding. Tell me where you're watching from. Your voice matters. Subscribe for more stories that remind you of your worth. Because here's what I know for sure. You exist. You matter. And when you show up, the real you, the scared you, the imperfect you, magic happens.